Hi, I'm out here today on a particularly fine English summer's day to have a look at my 1981 xs650 special, purchased in typically fine eBay manner, as a running MOT'd example. Made its way here under its own steam, to be honest, it's completely tired, and I can only speculate that the previous owner was a drinking buddy of the MOT tester. In typical 30-year-old bike fashion, in the term of my ownership, it spent most of its time in pieces and not very much of it actually riding it. Hey, somebody else is having all the fun. So as I didn't care too much for the lines at the rear, thinking they looked a bit clumsy, what I've done is to reshape the rear seat base, the seat base, and have it re-upholstered courtesy of P&D Customs. Very nice job, Dave. And fit an earlier style rear light, which I think looks a whole lot better. And I've ditched the original rear light, which was tucked up under the seat, and what I thought was a fairly cumbersome looking grab rail, and the seat's now got much thinner padding that doesn't look all seat. The engine's now been rebuilt using a collection of second-hand eBay parts and some new ones from Yamaha, rebore and new pistons. No, I don't know if you can see the eBay writing, so I've left on there. So the job today is to take a look at finishing off the hydraulic clutch conversion that I've been collecting pieces for. So I've taken off the saddle and the tank in preparation to get at it, and here, as you can see, bit of a difference here. I'm using an Aprilia RSVR 1000 slave cylinder, and I'll just take the cover off so you can have a look at what's going on inside. Anyone familiar with the xs650 who's owned one will be accustomed to the normal problems with the cable clutch setup. Typically not being able to get it into neutral at the stop lights when it's hot, and get an acceptable adjustment that lets the plates clear but also gives you a pull that isn't going to break your wrist. So I'm just going to take this cover off now. You'll see that the case has actually been machined to accommodate the new slave cylinder. What's actually been done here is that because of the reinforcing webs on the inside of the case, by the time you've milled it flat and clear, there's not a whole lot of metal left, so just wait for the passing traffic. Sunday's the busiest day here in this quiet neck of the woods. So the case has actually been milled out in the area where the slave cylinder mounts, and a billet of aluminium welded in. And this in turn has been machined to accommodate the new slave cylinder. As we see inside, we can see those webs have been cut back to allow the new metal to be welded in and have something flat to mount the new slave cylinder on. And this again was done thanks to the fine work of Chris and Dave at P&D Customs at Slimfold. And then further, what I've had to do is make up a new push rod, which you see here. This has got the 3-piece push rod, so this one's made of a piece of 8mm rod, and it's about 140mm long, but that wasn't very scientific. That was just a bit of trial and error till I could get the case seated right, and hopefully it's going to give enough free play for when the whole thing heats up. So back on with the side casing. And to take a look at the other end now, which is an eBay special. Wasn't too sure of the size of master cylinder to use, but this one had the advantage of being cheap, and it's a 14mm bore, so it's going to be a case of experimenting to see how that works. So what I'm going to do is just going to bleed the fluid through in a minute. Other than that, there's the piece of braided hose that's had to have made up to connect it together. Both the banjos were standard 10mm, it seems, and this was made up for me actually quite handily in this day and age. While you wait, I took the bits over to Ven Hill Cables in Dorking, and they made up this hose for me actually while I was there waiting. So I'm just going to bleed it through, see how we get on. Okay, so fluid's now bled through. Bleed nipple was seized, so a bit messy, but job done. Just remains to see how it feels. And it's certainly lighter than it was, and I can feel and hear the clutch operating. Not perhaps as light a pull as I was hoping for, but big improvement on what it was, and feels a lot more progressive. But I have to add a few more bits back on the bike before I can test it with a vengeance, so we'll see how that works out.